Hello, Assalamu alaikum. This is Nafiz Al Tariq, and in this short video, I will explain a macroeconomic concept, Reaganomics, which is a supply-side economics. The term is also called voodoo economics by Ronald Reagan's Vice President George H.W. Bush. Recently, Janet Yellen, the US Treasury Secretary, expressed the Biden administration's economic policy, which is borrowed from and improved upon the supply-side economic policy formulated by Ronald Reagan during the 1980s. So she termed it as the modern supply-side economics, which seeks to spur economic growth by raising labor supply and labor productivity, at the same time which will reduce the inequality and the environmental damage. So let's revisit the supply-side economic policy formulated by Ronald Reagan, or the Reaganomics. During 1980s campaign, Ronald Reagan proposed a recipe to fix the economic mess. This is the period after the 1970s decade of stagflation. So those periods, the US economy was experiencing recession and inflation. So Ronald Reagan claimed that an undue tax burden, excessive government spending, and excessive regulation is hampering the economic growth. So he suggested the tax rate should be reduced. In those periods, the highest marginal tax bracket was 70%. So he proposed a phased 30% tax cut in the 3 years of his presidency. So his economic policy to recover the economy from its mess has 4 main objectives. Number 1, reduce the growth of government spending. Number 2, reduce the marginal tax rate on labor and capital. Number 3, reduce the government regulation. And number 4, controlling the inflation by reducing the growth of money supply. Many proponents of Reaganomics hailed Ronald Reagan's decisions about the supply-side economics because they believe this is the biggest tax reform after the World War II. However, the Reaganomics was criticized by many people because it did not promise the intended result. Ronald Reagan increased the defense spending rather than he reduced the government spending. So at that period, the defense spending was 40% of the total budget during the 1981 to 1985. His supply-side economic policy was based on Laffer curve. However, his supply-side economic policy did not produce the windfall of revenue based on what Laffer curve said. As a result, the fiscal deficit increased rather than decreased. So the fiscal deficit was 4% of the GDP during his presidency compared to 2.2% in the preceding 8 years. Ronald Reagan himself acknowledged that this was the biggest disappointment of his presidency. Not only that, his supply-side economics did not reduce the inequality as well. The tax cut disproportionately benefited the rich people compared to the poor people. As a result, the inequality increased. His policy was being criticized by his own Vice President, George H.W. Bush, and he termed it as voodoo economics. So let's see how the Biden administration's modern supply-side economic policy delivered to the US economy and the world. Thank you for watching the video. Stay safe, stay blessed. Thank you.